Today we have some important Resident Evil news to discuss as Capcom reveals why it brought Ethan Winters back for Resident Evil Village, and thinks Resident Evil Village is the best survival horror game ever made. We also have some Horizon Forbidden West news as Aloy's voice actress reveals the experience in the game and content to come, and Xbox's plans to acquire a new studio for gaining some exclusivity, and some Division 2 news. So before jumping into the topics, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Click the notification icon and follow me on Twitter for knowing more interesting and informative news and gameplay in the daily gaming world. Now let's jump in. Before going into the main things, I want to show you something that I found in Resident Evil 5. In Resident Evil 5, when we investigate about the Ouroboros project, we will come across a diary note wrote by Spencer. It is essentially two files sandwiched together. The first part is a journal entry by Oswell E. Spencer, while the second is a list composed by Albert Wesker, comprising of Umbrella executives that could give him information on African facility, with their most current status. When we look at the note at the last page, we have a list of people that were deceased. In that list the last word is Ethan W., which in my thoughts may be Ethan Winters, the protagonist of Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. This may be a speculation, but if that is Ethan Winters, it would be interesting to see how he escaped the facility, and when and where he worked as an employee for the Umbrella Corporation, as his wife Mia also related to some virus strain who featured in a developing team as scientists. While her husband believed she was a caretaker by profession, she was actually a covert operative for an unknown corporation who developed Evelyn, acting as her caretaker for them. In 2014 she was recovered by the Baker family, where she then resided at the Dulvey haunted house. So comment your thoughts on my speculation and what are your suggestions for the future of Resident Evil. Now, with Resident Evil Village coming out this May, Resident Evil players are looking forward to what the upcoming sequel brings to the franchise. Things like the game's new location, the supernatural-themed enemies, and the lead villain Lady Dimitrescu or Mother Miranda, where the big lady took the internet by storm with each appearance. However, one element making a return to the sequel is Resident Evil 7's protagonist Ethan Winters. It's no secret that Ethan Winters will be making his return as the protagonist for Resident Evil Village to find his kidnapped daughter. However, Capcom recently revealed in issue number 185 of PlayStation Official Magazine why it chose to bring back Ethan Winters as the protagonist for the sequel. Most of which has to do with the developers growing attached to the character and wanted to continue his story in Resident Evil Village. Game producer Peter Fabiano spoke in an interview with PlayStation Official Magazine about the developer bringing Ethan back. He said the team grew quite attached to Ethan as a character, so we knew we wanted to continue his story arc. According to Fabiano, the team wanted players to experience the game from Ethan's perspective, especially since the sequel is a continuation of Resident Evil 7's story. Keeping the game focused on Ethan Winters also helped keep Capcom's vision for the sequel on track since it will center on Ethan's journey. Fabiano said this also helped the developers coordinate development, since the Resident Evil teams share information with each other. This helps them further flesh out Resident Evil Village as the best survival horror game, at least in Fabiano's words. In fact, Fabiano mentions that Resident Evil Village will be the best survival horror game to date. Compared to all of the other fantastic survival horror games already released, Resident Evil or otherwise, it will certainly be interesting to see how Resident Evil Village squares up. In addition, Fabiano also commented on various other facets regarding the story and characters of the game. Obviously, he didn't want to spoil any story details, but he did confirm that Lady Dimitrescu and everything else presented in the game ties into the overarching narrative and lore that Resident Evil has built across a multitude of games. Ethan as the protagonist brings some benefits to the game development since the developers can coordinate better on a shared vision for the game. However, Ethan isn't the only character making a return in the sequel. Franchise mainstay Chris Redfield is returning for Resident Evil Village, but to what capacity is unknown at this point. Most of the game's promotion paints a potentially antagonistic role for Chris, but it's possible there may be more to it than that. Overall, there is a big mystery behind his involvement in the game's story. Considering the success of Resident Evil 7, it does make sense that Capcom would bring back Ethan Winters, especially if the developers liked him. Of course, some players would like to see the rest of the franchise's main heroes back as protagonists again. With Chris Redfield's inclusion in the sequel, it's possible players might see some mention of the other characters. Though so far, the presence of Chris Redfield is one of the only links to the Resident Evil lore. In any case, it will be interesting to see how things play out when the game is finally released in May. This game isn't the only piece of Resident Evil media for fans to look forward to. In addition to all the Netflix projects, there's also the upcoming film reboot, and the rumored remake of Resident Evil 4 where Capcom pulling strings for the successful remake of the game. For now, Resident Evil Village will continue Ethan Winters' story, and players will be able to see where his journey takes them, and it seems now is probably the best time to be a Resident Evil fan. Up next we have the Horizon Forbidden West news, as Aloy's voice actress says Horizon Forbidden West will have more of what players loved in the first game, from the world to the gameplay. Horizon Zero Dawn fans are looking forward to the upcoming sequel Horizon Forbidden West, launching this year on the PS5. Ever since the first trailer, fans have been wondering what they can expect from the sequel concerning gameplay, story, and Aloy's journey. While some gameplay details about Horizon Forbidden West have been shared here and there by Guerrilla Games, the developer has kept many game details secret. In a recent interview with Games Radar, Aloy's voice actress Ashley Birch spoke about getting into the role of Aloy for Horizon Forbidden West. During the interview, Birch revealed that she was still recording lines and progress is still ongoing for the game despite the pandemic. When asked about what players can expect from the sequel, Birch admitted that she couldn't say much, but she did say that they can expect more of the same but better. She mentioned how everything players loved about Horizon Zero Dawn can be found in the sequel but more refined, such as the gorgeous world, the immersive story, the awesome gameplay. Birch said the sequel is just more and better, and would go on to add on what most fans expect. Aloy will be traveling to new locations in the setting, encountering new tribes, and unraveling more of the world's story and history. Fans were able to see some of the new mechanized wildlife in Horizon Forbidden West that they can expect to tame or fight, like the flying sunwing, the turtle-like shell snapper, the elephantine tremortusk, and others. Some of the new machines were either teased in the first trailer, promotional game art, or discussed by Guerrilla Games. Plus, the game will have Aloy exploring new and diverse locations, as well as familiar areas, like a post-apocalyptic San Francisco. Birch repeatedly voiced her excitement for Horizon Forbidden West's story throughout the interview. She said that she had gotten a primer on it all before she even started recording lines for the game. According to Birch, the writing team took me through the arc of the story, and it was like being a kid at a campfire. She would comment how after she finished recording sessions she can't wait to do a certain fight or go explore this area in the game because she's a big fan too. Ashley Birch is very excited about the game's progress, how the story is developing, and she honestly can't for the rest of the fans to see the game either. In the meantime, the game is still in development, but players can expect Horizon Forbidden West to have more of what they loved from the first game and then some.
Comes. I will be ready.
As we move on, we have one another Horizon topic to display as a Horizon Zero Dawn player manages to get the game running at 72p, giving the entire PC port a retro-inspired pixel art look. While the goal is typically to get games running as beautifully as they can, that's not always the case. A recent trend on the internet has players demaking games, oftentimes giving them pixel art looks or lower quality 3D models, as seen with the Bloodborne and Cyberpunk PS1 demake. A video of Horizon Zero Dawn running at 72p has elicited a similar feeling for fans, even if it isn't a demake in the traditional sense. A video posted by ST1Ka on Twitter shows what the adventure game looks like running at such a low resolution, and the result is interesting. There's almost no depth to the game, so one could be forgiven thinking that it's a 2D title running in pseudo 3D, much like certain games did on the SNES. Still, despite how low-res the game is, there's still a special kind of charm to it. Interestingly, the game is still recognizable as Horizon Zero Dawn, largely because of Aloy's design coupled with some of the unique aesthetics Guerrilla Games crafted for the sci-fi game. Of course, this is by no means the definitive way to play, but it's still neat to see nonetheless. Anyone with a 480p monitor, for instance, would be able to get the game running at 480p. That means anyone, in theory, should be able to run the game with a pixelated look, assuming their monitor supports a resolution low enough. Despite its launch issues, fans have rallied around Horizon Zero Dawn's PC port as a huge first step for PlayStation, specifically because it might mean more first-party PlayStation games are on their way to the platform. While there are a number of huge titles players would like to see make their way to PC, fans seem to have a hankering for Bloodborne and The Last of Us, in particular. With Horizon Forbidden West slated to release sometime this year, there's a good chance that it will get the same treatment, assuming it makes its way to PC. Seeing fans tweet games like this is always interesting, and it's impossible to tell what will be next for the game. Someone will almost certainly manage to get a weirder version of Horizon Zero Dawn running eventually, though.
Oh, shit!
Up next we have an Xbox news, as the latest insider leak claims that Microsoft is pursuing the acquisition of Techland, and with it exclusivity for Dying Light 2. This past year Microsoft made its largest gaming-related acquisition yet, picking up ZeniMax Media and its subsidiaries like Bethesda. It was just the latest in a string of high-profile studio acquisitions to bolster the Xbox Series X's future gaming lineup. Yet even as the ZeniMax deal was being finalized, Microsoft made clear it would continue to aggressively pursue future acquisitions. And a new leak may reveal that Microsoft's next target is the Poland-based team at Techland. As many are aware, rumors of Microsoft's effort to acquire a studio from Poland have been swirling in late 2019. No acquisitions or specific studios were mentioned along the way, however. Now the rumor has returned with a clear focus. The insider AGC said that Microsoft is seeking to purchase a 2021 video game exclusive. In the process of doing so, Microsoft would also acquire the developer or publisher. The additional detail comes instead from a second insider, who goes by Special Ed on Twitter. Special Ed says that after digging around they found out that ACG is talking about Techland. The video game ACG refers to is also said to be Dying Light 2. Special Ed does not make this claim with certainty, it must be made clear. The rumor in summary is that Microsoft is in pursuit of, or has already made a deal to acquire Techland and perhaps a console exclusivity deal for Dying Light 2 in the process. The leaks do not make it clear whether Microsoft is still pursuing a deal, or if a deal has already been made. Finally, these leaks offer no sources or compelling evidence of their leaks. ACG's predictions have a mixed track record, but Special Ed has made several accurate leaks in the past. Perhaps not coincidentally, there are other rumors that could be tied to this acquisition, if it's accurate. For example, in January Techland mentioned that Dying Light 2 news would be coming soon. Another rumor says that there is an as-yet unannounced Xbox event mid-February. For the time being, Xbox and Dying Light fans would be best served to maintain a healthy amount of skepticism. It's likely that Microsoft will make further acquisitions down the road, but not every rumor or supposed leak is going to be accurate. If Dying Light 2 news really is coming soon, fans will know the truth about a Techland acquisition in a matter of weeks or months. Up next we have interesting news as Sony shares a list of the PlayStation games that a variety of developers are looking forward to, including titles releasing in 2021 and beyond. Two games received the most support from those whom Sony received responses from. The first is Deathloop from Arcane Studios. Developers from Fall Guys Mediatonic, Sackboy of Big Adventures Sumo Digital, Streets of Rage 4's.emu and more had reasons for choosing Deathloop that include its well-tailored artistic direction and fast-paced action, the quality of Arcane's Dishonored franchise, and its funky 60s or 70s tone. The second game receiving the most responses is Sony's own Horizon Forbidden West, as chosen by developers who worked on games including Marvel's Avengers, Nioh 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, God of War, and Final Fantasy VII Remake. The sequel is described as having unbelievable graphics, continuing a beautiful new IP, and having the potential to truly push the PS5's capabilities. There is clearly a lot of hype for Horizon Forbidden West, but most of the devs don't get particularly specific about why. This is a bit disappointing for me, as I thought they would pick God of War sequel as their most anticipated upcoming game. But Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart and God of War Ragnarok both receive a fair amount of support too. Devs from Housemarque Guerrilla, Naughty Dog and San Diego Studio support the former, while devs from Young Horses, Insomniac, and PlayStation Studios voice opinions on the latter. Oft mentioned are Insomniac's older games, including the Jak and Daxter trilogy and previous Ratchet & Clank titles. For God of War, many anticipate the continued story of Kratos and his son, and visuals are a key point for both games. The list doesn't end there. Spelunky 2 developer Derek Yu points to Resident Evil Village American Samoa, a title in his favorite horror series. Capcom director Hideaki Itsuno has their eye on Gran Turismo 7, excited to see the true capabilities of next-generation gaming. Ryan Payton, director of Marvel's Iron Man VR, wants Elden Ring, and is certainly not alone in that. Both Kina, Bridge of Spirits, and Little Devil Inside receive support as well. PlayStation seemingly has a lot of games worth looking forward to in 2021, whether it's PS5 exclusive games or multi-platform titles. It looks like game developers are just as excited about the potential of the next generation of games as anyone. And before getting into our final topic, I want to share some news of Control's developer, Remedy Entertainment. The Finnish studio has earned quite a reputation for itself throughout its 26-year history, having produced such noted games as the original Max Payne games, Alan Wake, and Quantum Break, as well as its critical 2019 hit Control. However, since Remedy hasn't released a new game since then, one could be forgiven for assuming that the lack of hype for any major release would lead to some decline financially. One would be wrong in this case, because during an earnings call this week, Remedy announced that it had its best year ever last year in terms of money made. 2020 saw the company make $49.8 million, a 29.8% increase from the year prior, in addition to boasting an operating profit of $15.9 million. There are a few key factors behind this success, with Remedy specifically mentioning the development money it received as part of its collaboration with Epic Games, in addition to royalty income earned from Control. It also helped that 2020 proved to be a busy year for Control, as it saw the release of 2 new expansions, an Ultimate Edition re-release, a cloud-based Nintendo Switch port, and appearances on streaming services like Xbox Game Pass and Amazon Luna. The stars seem to have aligned for Remedy to rake in big money, without any major new release in 2020, which it almost had until the delay of Crossfire X, the tactical first-person shooter it's developing with Smilegate Entertainment. More than that though, CEO Tero Virtala said in the earnings call that its record year is a testament to the efforts the company has made to diversify its business and build a strong foundation for long-term growth. As such, the company is expecting to experience even more growth in 2021. Already, Control is continuing to sell well this year, helped by its release on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X earlier this month. Outside of Control, Remedy is planning to finally release Crossfire X in 2021 following a COVID-19-induced delay. Beyond that, there's also the 2 projects the studio is developing for Epic Games, one of which might be the mystery game Remedy's Sam Lake teased back in December. Now jumping into our final topic, as the Division 2 developers officially updates fans regarding new content in development for the game that is scheduled to release sometime later this year. The Ubisoft online shooter Tom Clancy's The Division 2 released in early 2019, and saw major updates through the end of 2020 when Title Update 12 last November was meant to be its final big wave of support. Though the game has seen some new content in the months to follow, there were not originally plans to release more title updates in 2021. However, according to a recent message from the development team, player support for The Division 2 has changed that. It was confirmed that The Division 2 will receive new content through 2022 in an Ubisoft conference call hosted last week, even with developer Massive Entertainment also working on an anticipated open-world Star Wars game. However, some additional details were provided by the game's development team via its official subreddit, r/The Division, in a post uploaded February 12. This recent Reddit post confirms Massive Entertainment is in the early stages of developing fresh content for the game set to release later in 2021, and it thanks the continuous passion and support of the game's community for making it possible. "We cannot stress enough how much this means to us," the Division 2 developer said. While the post says it is too early to offer details on what future content will include, it does also address high-priority bug fixes on the way for issues such as volumetric fog and screen space reflections on PS5. The team said that,
Say goodbye! What did you do?
"We see the ongoing conversation in our community, and we understand that you are eager for news of what lies ahead for The Division 2. Today, we are thrilled to confirm that there will be additional content for The Division 2 released later this year. It is your continuous passion and support which enables us to continue to build upon the Division 2 experience, and we cannot thank you enough for that. Some of you had noticed that Title Update 12 was originally meant to be the last major title update for The Division 2, but thanks to your continued support, we are now in the early stages of development for fresh content to release later in 2021. While it is still too early to go into more details today, you won't have to wait too long, as we will share more as soon as we can. In the meantime, we again want to send a heartfelt thank you for your continued support throughout the Division 2 post-launch period. We cannot stress enough how much this means to us. We also want to take this opportunity to update you on a few issues currently present in the game. An investigation into the crashes affecting many of you is ongoing with the highest priority, and we are also close to finding a fix for the missing volumetric fog and screen space reflections on PlayStation 5. We will let you know when we have a date for both fixes. Dates for these bug fixes are also to be announced, but the overall confirmation of new content should be encouraging for fans of the ongoing title. While The Division 2 has had some standout events this year, including a currently ongoing crossover with Resident Evil first revealed during the showcase highlighting Capcom's Resident Evil 8 Village, the idea that it will receive more major support suggests fans have a lot to look forward to. In fact, Ubisoft has seemingly been firing on all cylinders with regards to content for the various titles under its banner of Tom Clancy games. Ghost Recon Breakpoint crossed over with Rainbow Six Siege last month, and the latter game has seen additional updates and a promise of better cheating security measures as people wait for the release of Rainbow Six Quarantine. After the horror-based game was delayed last year, Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot recently suggested the company is evaluating whether or not to change Rainbow Six Quarantine's name due to potential associations with the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. Regardless if that happens or not, fans of the franchise will be able to anticipate more content in The Division 2 coming later this year, as they wait for Quarantine to get more concrete release details. I hope they add some changes to the PS5 version, as the game is not well optimized for the specific one. And that's all for the video, guys. Please leave your thoughts in the comments section, and until then, from SMPV, it's goodbye.